Lonnell Williams of 3OW-TV, welcoming you to GlowTVNetwork.com. Today I'm sitting with CEO and founder, creator, Mr. Maurice Jamal, filmmaker, producer, actor, writer. Is there anything that you don't do?
There are a lot of things I don't do.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the success of Glow TV.
Thank you.
A wonderful launch, and now you're gearing up for your new season.
Mm-hmm, season 2.
How did you come about creating this network?
I think it really came about. I'm a filmmaker, as you know, and spent a lot of years pitching projects in Hollywood, and I think there was a particular year where I was fortunate enough to sit down with the presidents of BET, TV One, Logo, MTV, and it's not so much that I was tired of getting the no's around gay content, and in particular gay content of color. It was the fact that I simply realized that they were just disinterested. And there are amazing stories to be told. And for me, not only am I proud to be gay and excited to be gay, I absolutely adore and love being gay. And I think there's so many wonderful things about our community that we never see and that we never hear. But you can't ask somebody else to tell your story. Right. You have to do it yourself. So for me, I felt like there needed to be a venue where filmmakers and storytellers of color that are gay and lesbian could put out their content. And so I was like, well, then, don't complain about what somebody else is not doing. Simply step up and try to help out. And so that's really how Glow started.
How it started.
Yeah.
But more TV type content. Why did you switch from the film?
I think for a couple of reasons. Obviously film content is longer. It takes a longer time to produce, to edit, to get out there. It's far more expensive. And I think once we made the decision to go with the digital network that's online, it just made sense to have material that was a little bit shorter in content, which also allowed us to really sort of diversify. You could have docuseries, you could have reality series, you could have game shows, you could have comedy, drama, whatever. Instead of trying to get everything in one film, we had an opportunity to have more people creating content and more people directing and producing and stuff like that. Because I didn't want the network to be mostly stuff that I was writing or directing.
So what's your favorite show on Glow?
Oh. That would get me in trouble. Do I have a favorite show?
It better be Pillow Talk. I'm sorry. So what was that?
I don't know. I think sometimes it's like almost like having a kid. Like I always love whatever's the newest thing. Like whatever show we just got or just acquired or just finished production on. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because now I take a lot of flack for going to Glow from a lot of people in the community.
Yes.
Because there were credibility questions or credibility issues.
Okay.
We can go back to, there was this big launch big advertising campaign for B-Boy Blues the movie. Mm-hmm. And then there was the Friends and Lover, and there was a big promotional campaign.
Right.
And then we never saw any of those projects come to light.
Right.
So that gave pause. A lot of people
Right.
paused, like, well, why are you going to Glow?
Mm.
So how would you address the credibility and what happened with those projects?
That's a good question. I think a couple things. I think, I'll talk about Friends and Lovers and I'll go backwards to B-Boy Blues. I think with Friends and Lovers, one of the things that was a little confusing is that I initially started doing the film, which was Ski Trip 2. Right. Which was a sequel. And we shot that film, did film festivals. We probably only did about 4 or 5 festivals. And then at that point, I decided to go back, shoot more content, and sort of expand it into the TV show that was Friends and Lovers. So I think some people were looking for a Friends and Lovers DVD and didn't recognize that it was actually going as a web series and that was going on the network. So I just think that was just sort of a communication marketing thing. As far as B-Boy Blues, I love the book. It was my favorite book actually when I was growing up. It was the first gay book I read, and like a lot of people out there, I think, I hid it under my pillow and read it at night. And I read it over and over again for years. So I think back in 2005 or so, I sat down and James Hill Hardy and I talked about the film and the fact that I thought that the book should really be a film and that I thought I was the right person to direct the film. So we were in development for maybe about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And then it just didn't work out. I think creatively, James and I had a different of opinion about the script. And it's James's book. James is gonna, It's his vision, it's his book, it's his characters. And so I really respected that. So Yeah, so that's really what happened, which happens in the business all the
All
time.
the time.
Somebody's attached to a project, you work on it, you develop it, the project kind of moves on. I believe they're in development now, which I think is great, because the movie needs to be seen and the story needs to be told.
But you do realize how that creates the perception that you're not necessarily responsible or reliable when you, because you were the face of the promotion of creating those projects,
Right.
and then when we don't see them now, that's what kind of creates some of.
You know, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. But yes, I mean, yeah, I guess so. It's funny, too, because I think sometimes, especially for those of us that work in this business, you're in the business all the time, and so you understand the culture of
Right.
it, and you don't necessarily realize how something might look to somebody else.
On the outside.
I mean, I think the other thing with B-Boy Blues is that, you know, we came out the box. I mean, we had just inked the deal with James to acquire the right, you know, and there was a poster, and there were banners,
Right.
and there was all that kind of stuff. And so I think we probably over-marketed and over-promoted just the signing of the contract as opposed to waiting to do that when we actually had shot the film.
Well, and one of the other things is raising the capital to
Oh my
produce a
gosh.
film, and I don't think a lot of people understand what that takes.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about how you would raise money for an independent film.
Well, I mean, I think there's a difference between raising money for an independent film and an independent black film and an independent black gay film. And as you can imagine, it gets harder and harder and harder. I mean, I think B-Boy Blues, we had budgeted a little bit over $2 million, almost $3 million. And to raise that kind of money takes a long time, because you're not getting funded by Fox, you're not getting funded by MGM, MTV, any of those people. They're not writing you a check. We sat down with those people, you know. They were like, oh, it's a great idea, but you'll have to raise the money, do it on your own, and then we'll buy it. So in that instance, you're talking about raising money from within our community. And for me, that was a choice that I thought made sense. James also really felt the same way, that, you know, black gay folks needed to step up and fund it. And it was tough. I mean, we had some fundraising parties where we barely raised, you know, a couple $1,000s, which ain't even paying for breakfast on Tuesday, you know, on a film of that nature. Because you're talking about, you know, we were talking about shooting in New York, shooting on location, shooting on set. So it was a big project. So it takes a long time to raise that kind of money. I mean, I think one of the things you see now is you see people on Kickstarter and Indiegogo
Right.
who were trying to raise $5,000, $10,000 and can't do it. So you can imagine and those are from like friends and family. So you can imagine what it's like to try to raise $2 to $3 million from black gay folks you don't know.
But then how do you go from that, which is one individual project, to a network? Because that's going to take even more capital.
It does. Well, there were a couple things. I made a big personal investment of time and money and resources. But because of and this is the other reason that we decided to go with television format, go online, because when you're producing a 15-minute talk show, it's not nearly as costly as producing a feature film. So you just find ways to work stuff out. And again, we're not funding everything ourselves. Like, we have creative partners. So our producers and our directors control their show, control what the content is, and Glow is simply a conduit, a pathway to get it out to people.
So that's also another reason that it's a subscription service and why people should support it, because they're actually building and investing in the shows on the
Most
the
definitely, yeah. I mean, and we were subscription based for the first year, and we're actually going to move to a non-subscription basis for season 2.
So then will advertisers pay for it, or I mean,
Yeah,
is
there'll
that
be
how it works?
advertisers.
Okay.
We've got some private investors and stuff like that. I just felt it was important. I mean, well, honestly, I mean, I think one of the reasons why we started it is because, for me, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about an experience I had with a mother whose son was 14 who committed suicide because people were teasing him about his sexuality. And there are kids across this country who don't have a voice, who don't see themselves reflected with honesty, with integrity, in ways that make a difference. And so for me, it's not just that it's important. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I'm here, is to help reach those kids and to make a difference. And so if a $5 a month subscription keeps some young people from being able to see their stories and see themselves reflected, then for me, not even as a businessman, just as an individual, as a child of God, I feel like there's a different way to then do what we're doing so that more people can see it.